All right, so very good morning, very good evening, everyone. Welcome back again. Right, so let's quickly spend a few minutes to recap what we covered yesterday, and then we'll continue further with a few more topics in continuation to the yesterday's discussion. So yesterday we started with the introduction about myself, my overall experience, and my major activities and areas of expertise and the domain expertise. So all I just briefed about your instructor. That's about me. And then we gone over the course curriculum. And here's a course curriculum link. So I'm gonna post here in the chat. If anyone missed the link, you can take a note of this. So we gone over this entire course curriculum, the course structure. I'll just reopen it one more time here. This my blog link here, which has a course curriculum. Right, we went over with the all the topics with a brief description, like what all the content, what we'll be covering, and all of them. Just go over one more time. And again, if you missed yesterday's session, you can always refer it in my YouTube channel. I just uploaded yesterday after the session. And then we discussed about the course timings, the course duration, and the fee structure. And one more time, this course is a weekday batch, Monday to Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days in a week. That's in IST time zone. In Eastern time zone, it will be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And in IST time zone, it will be 8:30 a.m. IST to 10:30 a.m. IST. And in Eastern time zone, it will be 11 p.m. EST to 1 a.m. EST. And as I mentioned, in EST time zone, it will be with little difficult since it's a late night. And however, everyday sessions will be recorded. If you're able to make it live session, it's well and good. If not, you can always refer the recordings and you can post your any questions, queries, post that. The course duration is 30 days. We'll be able to complete in 30 days of course classes. And with the add-on, it may take 45 to 50 days. So the course is a paid training, which will be of 10K INR or 125 US dollar is a course fees and will be conducted via a Zoom session. And these are like live sessions, live classes, and we'll be covering 19C version. That's about the course duration and the timing. And
Sir,
yeah, somebody has a question?
sir, classes will not be daily, sir. That means Monday to Friday classes not there, sir.
No, only 3 days in a week.
Yes, sir.
All right. So two other important point what we discussed is a Google Drive access and WhatsApp group. So I think post yesterday's a demo, we got few more students got admitted. So I have added them, but I yet to grant access on the Google Drive. Maybe after today's session, I'm going to grant the access. Please stand by on that. So this is a dedicated WhatsApp group for the registered student where you can post your questions, queries, or you need any help or assistance in the setup, or not only related to this course, other than this course, like you're working as a DBA already and you need some assistant or some help on a particular task, or you attended some interview and you're not able to answer a few of the questions, and all those questions and all those help and everything will be discussed in this WhatsApp group. You can always use our WhatsApp group for a mode of communication, the primary mode of communication. Right, and the Google Drive, where these Google Drive links are lifetime access. All the materials will be available in the Google Drive forever. You can even download those material locally into your laptop, no restriction on that. And so if I open those links again, one will be the course curriculum, where you have all the course materials, course content, All the ready labs, everything will be available in the link one. That's the course material. And the other one is link two is the other information where you can see all the automation scripts, interview questions, and mock interview preparations and the softwares. All will get it in the second link.
I'm only good. All doubt actually.
Yep,
So regarding this drive, actually we will have rack videos also. Only DBA.
only DBAs.
Only DBA. Okay.
Yes. The rack is a separate course.
Okay.
All right. So then the link three is the previous batch recording. As I told, there is already previous batch recordings and all the notepads will be available. So the reason behind why we are providing this previous batch recording, you can prepare by your own. Like, if you're an experienced DBA, you want to complete this course in a fast rank within a week, I want to complete. You can go through all the videos and the recordings. And if you are a new and you want to practice in advance, so you can watch the recordings, understand the concept, and then attend the live classes so that you can ask more question and make it interactive. So it will be benefited for both newcomers as well as the experienced DBAs to go through these recordings there in their own phase and make it interactive sessions. And the link for is current batch recordings. Whatever daily sessions will be uploaded into that. So this is the current batch. So this is yesterday demo session, and along with that, whatever the command I'll be firing in my lab, all will be uploaded here. So you can refer the recordings as well as the notepad associated to that. Right. So those are two important aspects: WhatsApp group and the Google Drive access. And again, for the payment method, payment node. So there'll be multiple options: Google Pay, Phone Pay, UPI, and bank transfer, or international outside India, MoneyGram, Western Union. So there are many options on the payment processing. If anyone interested and continue or pursue this course, so feel free to ping me on my WhatsApp number or cell number for the further payment process. Or if you have any questions, queries, or you need more clarification, you can always feel free to reach out to me on my cell or WhatsApp number. Great. Other important points what we talked about: prerequisites, the hardware requirement, very very important. You should have 10 GB RAM and 100 GB SSD hard disk so that you can able to set up your own lab. If you don't have this hardware requirement, you'll not be able to set up a lab. And if you're not able to set up a lab, you'll not be able to do any hands-on exercise. Whatever demo or whatever exercise I'm doing, in order to you to perform, you need to set up this lab. So for that, this hardware requirement is must. And again, there might be questions. Yesterday's after session, many people ping me. I don't have 10 GB RAM. I have 8 GB, 4 GB, 6 GB RAM. So again, those minimum requirement is must. If you don't have it, then you'll not be able to, do a hands-on. Again, I also got a few questions that can I continue with this course without lab? Yes, you can continue with this course without lab, but only concern is you'll not be able to perform the lab exercise. You'll be able to listen and you'll be able to watch what I'm doing, what I'm teaching, but until you do your own hands-on lab exercise, you'll not get that much of confidence. Only way is to get a confidence on this particular database course and understand the concept in deep by performing your own hands-on lab exercise. Right, so that's a must requirement. Hardware, your laptop or desktop should have this much of RAM and hard disk.
Finally,
Yep.
I have a laptop of 8 GB RAM. It is sufficient for us.
No.
Then is there any
You have to
other?
increase your RAM, or go to your nearest Dell or whatever the support vendor and check with them whether you can increase your RAM. If not, then you have to purchase.
Otherwise, we can purchase any VM for any.
No.
Okay.
Correct. So
Yeah.
then
Sorry, I missed it. I mean, how do we practice?
your voice is breaking, Srikant.
I mean, you the VM for the practice, or like, do we have any?
No, your voice is breaking. Some issue with your network. Just check it out. So
Okay.
we are not providing any VM. You have to set up your own lab on your laptop. So using Oracle VirtualBox VM, we have already labs uploaded into Google Drive. You need to start them in your laptop. In order to start them, you need to have minimum 10 GB RAM in your laptop. Without that, you cannot set up a lab on your laptop. All right. So that is must requirement. If not, then again, as I told, you'll not be able to do a hands-on exercise. You'll be able to watch and listen and see what I'm doing it, but you'll not be able to do your own lab exercise. And the other important questions, who can attend this course? As I clearly mentioned yesterday, anybody can attend this course with 1 year experience, 2 year experience, 5 years experience, 10 year experience. And even if you don't have any experience and you're already working in IT with some other domain, you want to switch to DBA domain, or you just college passed out and you want to enter into DBA domain, anyone can attend this course, no restriction on that. The reason being what I mentioned, if you go over a course curriculum, the course is formed based upon my 15 years of experience in this IT industry. As a DBA, you are working for any client. What are the day-to-day activities you're supposed to perform? You're supposed to contribute all your day-to-day tasks. Based upon that, this entire course will be formed. So because of that fact, this course is suitable for anybody with a 1 year experience, 5 year experience, 10 year experience, or with a zero experience, or you want to switch your domain from non-IT to IT background, or some other domain in IT industry to the Oracle DB domain, anyone can attend this course. This is for everyone. This course is basically founded or formed from the basic level till the advanced level. Right. And the other aspect what we covered is if you know the Linux, Windows, and SQL basics, that's well and good. You can catch up the concept and you can understand the concept well in advance and you'll be in sync with me. If you don't know these basics, I'll be covering whatever needed Linux commands, whatever needed Windows understanding, whatever needed SQL command understanding. Along with the topics what I'll cover, I'll be covering all these basics. But you have to spend little extra time to practice your Linux commands, your SQL commands, and your Windows concepts. So that's the extra added time you have to spend and understand more. And you have to watch the recordings again. Everyday sessions will be recorded and uploaded. You have to watch the session again one more time after my session so that you can understand and then you'll be in sync with me if you don't know basics of this. But whatever needed, the small portion of basics I'll be covering along with the course, but not 100%. You have to put those extra time and effort to make more hands-on on your Linux, Windows, and SQL so that you will be in sync with me along with the course.
1 minute, sir. One question. You will not teach the basic for SQL and Linux.
No, SQL and Linux is a separate course itself. If I start teaching all of them, we'll not be able to complete our database course. But
Okay,
however,
you will not provide any recorded video for SQL and Linux.
no, we don't have any recordings, but we have the notes or the PPTs in our Windows Drive. If
Okay,
you
I
go
will.
to
Okay,
if you go to the
self-study.
link one, you can go to this
So
SQLs.
one question here. So one question here. Coming to SQL, just a table create.
Yeah, go ahead. Amrin, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Come again.
Coming to SQL basics, just
Yeah,
a table creation. Am I audible now?
yeah. Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, creating the table and insert.
Your voice is breaking. Yeah, coming to basic SQL, meaning how to connect your database and how you can query that SQL commands, how to read the table, how to insert the record, how to delete the record. Give me a second, guys. Maybe she might be having internet issue. Let me.
Malik, your voice is audible.
Yeah. Maybe they're having some.
Committing that.
All right. Yeah, so as I mentioned, the Linux, Windows, and SQLs, you need to make more practice. You need to do a commands. There'll be many documents in Google and everywhere you can get a lot of information about the SQL and Linux. So you can search and you can practice. But whatever needed for the DBA, whatever the basic command, whatever the command I am running, I'll be giving explanation and I'll be giving brief about that. And on top of that, if anyone needs some more information about Linux and SQLs, I can conduct. I'm happy to conduct 1 or 2 extra sessions for those who are newcomers who don't know anything about Linux and SQLs. Maybe on weekends we can connect and I can cover some basic sessions on that. So on top of that, we'll be having on our Google Drive SQL notes and Linux notes. You can go and then you can do a self study. That's more than enough. All right, then we talked about DBA certificate, very, very important. I explained yesterday in detail about how important Oracle certificates are and RAC certificate for your resume becoming strong, your resume getting shortlisted for an interview. These certificates are very, very important. So we talked more about that. Just I request everyone to go back and watch that recordings, yesterday's recording. There will be a lot of information I shared in that. And also we talked about a lot of AI and generative AI, agentic AI and AI agent. And also we talked about cloud technologies and we talked about other database skill sets along with the database, other database skill sets like MySQLs and PostgreSQL, MongoDB, and other along with the DBA skill sets, exposing into DevOps skill sets, how we can use the DevOps skill set into automation. So all those things we talked yesterday. So strongly recommending everyone to go over that recordings one more time. All right. So I'll take a pause here. If you have any further questions and queries so far, I'm happy to take those questions. Otherwise, we can continue with the furthermore technical discussion. All right. Any questions or any
Yeah,
doubts so far?
hi, good morning, sir.
Yeah.
So you said that the Google Drive link 1, 2, 3, 4. Where can you get them?
It will be only for the registered student. Once post your registration, I'll be
Yes.
adding you into WhatsApp group and I'll be sharing all the link details.
Okay. And also for the payment of the fees, how can you pay the fees?
Yeah, you can reach out to
dollar?
me. Yeah, you can ping me on my WhatsApp number. I'll provide you those payment links.
Okay, if you send us a bank account number, then I can
Yeah.
send.
You can
Yeah.
just say hi or ping me in WhatsApp or post this today's session. You can call me. I can guide you through that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Sir, when start this course?
I think we covered that yesterday. Let me go over one more time. So if I open this second link here, course curriculum, and if I open this second link, so which has more details about here, 23rd June yesterday and today are the 2 demo session. If you go and then click this link here, so it has all the details here. So 23rd and 24 are 2 demo sessions, and the actual course is going to start on 30th June, next Monday. So
And
today
Malik, like what part of this course ASM administration will also cover?
we talked about that yesterday, right? If you go ahead
Yeah,
and
actually I didn't attend it. Yeah, I was just
yeah. So go and refer that recording. There will be a lot of things we discussed yesterday, and also some career advice also we talked. So I highly recommend you to watch that recording one more time. Or if you missed it, you
Sure.
must watch that one.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
here the chapter number 9, we'll talk about this ASM.
Okay. Thank
Right. So
One more doubt, sir. Actually, this demo session, it will be a continuous for our course
no,
or
these are
from.
nowhere related to our regular class. Regular class will start with the day 1 here, setting up the environment And this demo sessions is just a generic, like, general topic and high level discussion about few general technical topics. And this is added topics. You cannot consider this in our regular course. All right. So yesterday and today are two demo sessions, what we are discussing, and our actual course is going to start on 30th June. So that will be starting from next Monday onwards. So again, this is the overall details here. 23rd, 24th, two demo session. 2 hours yesterday and 2 hours on today, 8:30 to 10:30 AM IST. And again for EST time zone, it was 22nd and 23rd, Sunday and Monday, and that will be late night for them, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. EST, late night for them. And this is a demo link what we are attending, but our regular classes, the Zoom link will get changed. This will be valid for only 2 days, yesterday and today. And again, course curriculum, we went over through that entire brief link. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, sorry for that. That was my daughter. Okay. Yeah, I just gone over that entire course curriculum. And again, this is an extensive course. I'm repeating again one more time because this course curriculum, if you go ahead and then see, it is formed based upon my 15 years of experience in this IT industry. As a DBA, once you start working or supporting any client, day in and day out, what are your expected, the regular task? As a DBA with 1 year to 4 years of experience, what are your day-to-day activities you're supposed to perform? All those activities will be grouped together, and then I personally formed this particular course. So if you go with any, even if you go with Oracle University or any other institute, you won't get this extensive course, a curriculum and content. And again, this course will be based upon purely a practical live demonstration. You might have already seen the way I teach and the way I show demo on my YouTube channel. So it's purely a live practical oriented with the real time examples, and everything will be based upon live demonstration. So there will be a lot of content already in our Google Drive where there will be a lot of technical, lot of theoretical, and lot of PPTs, workbook, lab exercise. You just go over and then read through all of them. But whatever I teach will be based upon live demonstration. So that's the extensive, the content of this course, what you will be getting along with this DBA course. And again, as I mentioned, the actual course is going to start from the next Monday onwards. So the timings are remain same, 8:30 a.m. IST to 10:30 a.m. IST. In EST time zone, it will be 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. in midnight. And this is the weekday batch, Monday to Wednesday in IST, Sunday to Tuesday in EST. And the timings remain same, 2 hours every day, 8:30 to 10:30. And in 30 days, we'll be able to complete this course. Again, the course fees, duration, time, and Oracle version, what we're covering here. A 10K or 125 US dollar is the course fees. Will be conducted on live classes over a Zoom session, and we'll be covering on 19C version. So there is a few questions yesterday or few days back I got. Why can't we teach 19C version? Why can't we go with a 21C? Why can't we go with a 23C? Or why can't we go with the 23 AI? 19C is the longest support. So up to 2030, you will get a support from Oracle. So most of the customer in the industry are all willing to stay on 19C version because 19C is the longest support 2030. So this 21C is called innovation release. There is no support for that. And again, same thing goes for the next longest support is your 23 AI, which will be 2032, which will be supported till 2032. So 23 AI, we don't have on premises. It will be all based upon cloud. We don't have on premises production release yet. So once the production release is ready, 23 AI, So then we can plan, we can enhance our course according to this 23I. But in industry, 95% customers are willing to stay back in 19C. The reason being that is which is the longest support till 2030. And maybe in another few years, another 2 to 3 years, so 23I is once available for on-prem cloud and Exadata. So 23AI or the new release may be the longest support, so we can plan for that. Right, and then again we talked about minimum requirement and the upcoming batch release. That's already scheduled one. Hope no questions so far. Let's continue for the few more topics in continuation to the yesterday's course, yesterday's technical topic. Right, we talked about yesterday standalone versus rack. So I'll take a pause here for a minute if anyone has any questions. While I'm typing here, if anyone has any question, feel free to unmute and ask any questions.
Well, this is Srikanth. So, I mean, you said that like for 23 AI will be the, I mean, currently it is there in the, this one, like cloud. So, I mean, Oracle is, asking like, I mean, for the all the customers are, for them to be moved to cloud or like, I mean, still they will be stay on premise also. I mean, in future, I'm just saying that.
Again, give me a second here. Right. So the cloud is currently booming. Cloud, again, yesterday we talked about this. Cloud and AI is currently the running technologies. So any customer, let's say you are a startup or small scale industries, the small startup companies and all, they're all willing to be in the cloud. But when it comes to enterprise business, like large, the insurance or finance or e-commerce or the banking sectors, so they're not moving to cloud because of their database structure. They'll be having a huge database, 50 terabyte, 100 terabyte, and your OLTP, OLAP, those kind of a huge workloads you're not supposed to run on the cloud because of the fact that ingress and outgress, inbound and outbound cost. When you run your databases in cloud, you're you're going to pay a lot of money for the incoming and outgoing, inbound and outbound data. So if your database is data warehouse, 50 terabyte, 100 terabyte, so you cannot run those in the cloud. And if you run those in the cloud, you're gonna pay more than what you were supposed to pay in on-premises. So for those kind of enterprise businesses, on-premises is the only solution. You have to run your databases on on-premises. And only for the startup, the small scale industries where they don't have that much of budget or you know, the luxury to pay that infrastructure bills or to maintain the infrastructure. So those kind of small customers are preferably go for cloud. But other than that, all the banking, finance, insurance sector, and all those kind of big enterprise customers are willing to run their workloads in their local on-premises. The reason being that the workload or the type of databases what they have, type of data what they have, they cannot run, they cannot bear that cost or inbound and outbound cost in that. Right? That is where your on-premises is forever, and cloud is for small databases and for the startup companies, not for the enterprise one.
Sir, I have one question here.
Yeah.
As you said, the big enterprises, kind of financial sectors, the banking sectors, all these are using the Exadata technology now, the
Right. That's
machine.
correct. That's
So
correct.
is it on cloud or else that is on prime?
We have both Exadata on cloud and Exadata on premises. So we have Oracle will provide you cloud at customer, meaning your Exadata machine, they will be delivered and kept it in their data center, and they will access it as a cloud. Or they already running cloud as a services, and they can run ExaCC, means Exadata will be provided as a cloud service. So customer can choose both.
Take it on subscription basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay, sir.
both.
Thank you. Okay, so Exadata is on Prime and as well as on cloud.
Yeah. Exadata on-prem is called as a cloud at customer. Cloud at customer meaning
ExaCC. Uh-huh.
ExaCC is a your subscription where you can get Exadata as a service. And those are the two things in Oracle offering. Cloud at customer meaning Exadata will be delivered
ExaCC.
to their data center and kept it on data center on premises. And
Mm-hmm.
ExaCC is the one where you don't need to have this Exadata box in your on premises. You can directly get
Just.
Exadata access as a
Mm-hmm.
service.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Let's move back here. Couple of topics what we talked yesterday. Standalone versus rack. Or before that, let's say types of databases what we talked. And standalone versus rack. Types of databases as part of the database course will be covering standalone databases. As part of our rack course, we'll be covering a rack databases. So we talked yesterday in brief about in standalone, we can get a standalone without ASM, standalone with ASM. Where standalone without ASM meaning where you are running your database on OS file system. Your database will be residing under this OS file system or NFS, SAN, NAS, anything. Whereas standalone with ASM, that's our lab 2 where we are running this test DB. A database is running on ASM storage. So ASM storage meaning ASM is a automatic storage management provided by Oracle. So where we are going to set up ASM and your database will be running on top of that ASM. So I had a quick demo on that yesterday. So I had 2 labs. Let me one more time show that one. I'll split into 2 window here. So we have this lab 1, lab 2, where lab 1 we are running a DevDB, and then we have this lab 2 where we are running testDB. We have this lab 2, we are running testDB. PS-EF grep SMON. So one of the background process I'm checking here SMON. So we have this DevDB, and then we have this PS-EF grep SMON. We have this a testDB. So let's say if I divide that into as a question, how to identify where my database is residing. So that is, let's say I want to identify where my database is residing. So just by running this ps-grep-smon, I can able to see whether my database is running on ASM or on local file system. The moment I see ASM, it's 99% my database will be running under my ASM storage. If I don't see that ASM, my database will be running under the OS file system. It may be SAN, NAS, or NFS or local file system. This is the quickest way to identify. If not, you can connect to database. Run select name from VDALR data file. Run this command by connecting to your database. We are going to get the name of all the data files associated to the database. Associated to this DevDB database, I have this system, sysocs, undo, users, all these many data files. Everything start with this slash. Anything this start with a slash, meaning that is your local file system. It may be NFS, SAN, NAS, or any storage provider. Whereas if I go to this test database, again, don't worry about this. What is this .env, how we are connecting, that will be covered regular in our regular classes. But my intention is to just to show where the database are running. I'm going to run the same command, select name from with a data file. Anything start with a plus, that indicates your database is residing under ASM storage. So whereas this test database, all the same system, sysocs, undo users, these are called your data files. So anything start with a plus, that indicates your database residing under ASM. Anything start with a slash, that indicates your database running under OS file system. OS file system may be anything. It may be SAN, NAS, NFS, or local storage. Right? By running this command, I can able to identify where my database is running. Right. That's about the type of database. What we are covering is about both the databases, with ASM and without ASM, standalone without ASM, standalone with ASM. Both this DB and TestDB will be covered in this particular database course. And what exactly this ASM is? ASM itself is a separate topic. We'll be discussing more on that. So it's a storage provided by Oracle. So now the question comes, I know that my database is running under this local file system. Can I go and then see those files? Yes, those are your local OS storage. So if I copy this path, CD meaning change directory, I want to go into that directory where my data files are resides. I'm into that particular data file location now. If I do pwd, that's a present working directory. I went into that location. If I do ls-ltr, ls meaning list files. So I can see all those temp, users, system, undo, sysocs, all the physical files belongs to my database, which is of 3 GB altogether. So I can able to see all of them. It's fair enough. If my database is running under local file system without ASM, I can directly go into that location and I can see all the files. Can I able to see those same files on my ASM? So if I exit from here, if I copy this path, if I do CD into that, it says no such a file or directory. It's not a directory. Meaning if your database is running under ASM, as I specifically told, ASM is a storage management, is a storage structure provided by Oracle. So we need to connect to that ASM storage first in order to access those files. So that's a next question. How to connect to ASM storage? Right? We know that this is anything start with a plus is the ASM. I need to go to that location. How to connect to that ASM storage? So very first command, you need to run this psf grep smon. After that, you need to identify plus ASM is running and who is the owner for that one. Oracle is the owner. You need to log into that user. SU Oracle. Switch user Oracle. That's gonna take you to Oracle user. So right now I am already into Oracle users. Here Oracle @Oracle Lab 2. Already you are into Oracle user, or you can just simply do ID. It's gonna tell you which user you logged in. Already logged in as the Oracle user. You have to perform first check the owner by running this command. And after identifying the owner, you have to switch to that particular owner for that ASM. And after running, sometimes your ASM might be running with the grid or Vora grid or whatever customer environment, whatever user they used, you have to log into that user first. After login, you have to run this .env. .env. It's going to ask you what is your Oracle SID. So my SID is plus ASM. So your ASM is always start with a plus. Your database will start with the name of the database without plus or minus before that, but your ASM is always plus. So I'll just give that plus ASM. So after you run this .env, you can make sure that your environmental variables are set or not by running this env pipeline grep capital Vora. That's going to make sure that your Oracle SID is set and your Oracle base is set and Oracle home is set. Again, what is Oracle SID, what is Oracle base, what is Oracle home, we'll be covering in our regular classes. So this is the command to verify your environmental variables are set or not. After that is set, we're going to run ASM cmd-p. This is your ASM command line to connect your ASM storage with -p option. They're going to take you to ASM command line. So after you connect your ASM storage, now you are into ASM storage. Now you can directly log into this path. CD into this path, and now you can see you are into that particular path. If you do ls-l, you can see the same those whatever the file we listed here. System sysocs undo user. Same thing you can see system sysocs undo users. So this is again one simple way to connect your ASM storage, and there will be a lot of activity we do here. So that will be a part of our regular classes. We'll be covering it, but just to be a simple understanding how to connect to ASM storage. For the database without ASM, we can directly CD into that location, what we did here, and do ls. I can see all the files. But for the ASM, you need to first connect to ASM storage by running this ASM command line. You'll be into that ASM command line. Then you can perform your whatever activity you want to do. All right, that's fair enough. We understood now about with ASM and without ASM and other things what we understood. Oracle strongly recommends to run databases on ASM. So already we saw that yesterday in one feature, right? Why Oracle strongly recommends your database to run under ASM? Because of this Oracle restart feature. Right? Yesterday I given the demo that in the midnight, your database server crashed, your server rebooted. And in case of your DevDB, which will never be get started automatically. You have to get up and you have to connect to the database and manually start it. Whereas TestDB, you don't need to start it. ASM will automatically restart the database. That's one of the feature if you run your database on ASM. And there'll be a lot more feature. High speed IO, the read and write. So we'll see that what is high speed read and write. Mirroring, striping, redundancy. So there will be a lot of things and your ACFS. So I'm just giving few examples here. Why Oracle strongly recommends any customer to run their database on ASM. I given one example as a restart feature, but there'll be a lot more feature like high speed read and write, mirroring, striping, redundancies, and fail groups. Right, so those all will be covered as part of our regular classes. Right, not at this time. This time, if I start covering all of them, it'll be like French and Greek. You will not be able to understand without the foundation. Right, so that is about what we gonna cover in this particular course. And again, also we mentioned rack is a separate course where rack also we have two types of databases: rack database versus rack one node database. So again, there are two types of database. How we can see here: standalone with ASM and standalone without ASM, and those will be a separate course. We'll not be covering anything related to rack here in this course. All right, then any questions so far on this? So far, whatever the concept I covered on DevDB, TestDB with ASM, without ASM, what is the ASM storage? All good. Hope no questions so far. right? And then the other topic what we talked yesterday is a standalone versus rack. Why rack? Oracle highly recommend to run databases on rack. Why Oracle, like as the Oracle suggests here, strongly recommend to run your database on ASM. Similarly, Oracle highly recommends run your database on rack. Why? So we covered this one yesterday, high availability and load balancing and failover. So those are the very brilliant features in case of rack. So you'll get a high availability, multiple nodes, and you'll get a load balancing where the data or the end users will be distributed across multiple nodes and failover. Again, this is a slide. This is a slide what we discussed yesterday. So in case of standalone, this one instance, one database, where a lot of loads on the one single server, and there won't be any load balancing. If this server goes down, there won't be any high availability. Entire database is down. None of the users are able to connect. And in case of server goes down, there won't be any failover feature. But in case of rack, we have load balancing, high availability, failover, all those features will be available. That's one of the primary reason why Oracle recommends to run under rack. Right. In any of this case, and further question comes, how to connect to database. How to connect to database. So what we talked yesterday, to answer to this question, how to connect to database, answer to that question we talked yesterday about Oracle architecture. Ooh. Right, sorry for that, guys. Okay. Again, if no questions, then feel free to unmute yourself. Whenever you have question, then only you can unmute and ask questions. Otherwise, it will be disturbing for everyone. So we talked yesterday about Oracle architecture. In brief explanation, I gave Oracle architecture or Oracle database is combination of instance plus database. Whereas instance is a logical structure and database is a physical structure. Instance is a logical structure, database is a physical structure. So instance is made up of memory plus background process. And database is a physical structure which is made up of data files or storage files or end user data. So in simple definition, your test DB is nothing but all the data files, systems, sucks, undo user. Your dev DB is nothing but all the data files, whatever you see this physical structure or the backend files. Data files or the storage files or the end user data or backend files. That's your actual database. End user data will be stored under those data files. As and when your end users add more and more data, you'll be getting more and more data files here. That's a simple understanding. Your database is nothing but a physical file stored under your OS storage or on the ASM storage where your database is running, data files will be resides. That's your storage files or the end user data or the backend files. That's the physical structure. So The question here is, I have DevDB and I have this TestDB. That's your backend files. Backend files or end user data or storage files. Resides on OS storage, and for the TestDB resides on ASM storage. That's my database. A DB and TestDB, nothing but the backend storage files or the end user data reside under OS storage or ASM storage. But how to connect as an end user? How he can connect to the database, access the data? How we can connect to the database and how we can access the data? There is no way even DBA or end user, nobody has access to database. Nobody has access to database, meaning what? Nobody can access, read and write these backend files. As a DBA, I have access on this one. I am right now in the ASM storage. Right now I'm into this OS storage. What can I do with these data files? Nobody can read and write and understand these data files. Even end users who can connect to any application, they cannot read and write and understand these data files, this database actually. Then how can they connect to database and how can they access the data files or the data? Only way to access the database or read and write into the database or data files is by connecting. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry for that, guys. Okay, so only way to access this database or read and write into these data files is by connecting to database instance. Anyone want to access or read and write into database, they have to first connect to instance. And that's where we are talking about this Oracle architecture. Oracle architecture is a combination of instance plus database. Instance is a logical structure. Any user, including DBA end user, first they have to connect to this instance. Once they connect to this instance, they can read and write and understand all these data files. There will be many data files. System data file, sysauc data file. Again, what are the purpose of this system data file, sysauc data files, undo, temp user? We'll cover more in our regular classes. User data files, temp data files, undo data files. To read and write and understand these data files, a user has to connect to this instance. Instance is nothing but a memory and background process. How, and now the question comes, now we understood nobody can connect to a database. If they want to connect to database, they have to connect to instance plus. Now the question comes, how to connect to instance. As a end user or application user, they will use any JDBC or ODBC or SQL plus or anything, any third party integration. Like maybe your Toad or OEM, all of them, whatever the way they connect to a database, they'll be using username, password, @devdb, username password @testdb. They have to give that username and the password followed by which database they want to connect, either via JDBC connection, ODBC connection, or SQL Plus, or any third-party integration they have it, or whenever they're connecting to Toad, OEM, or SQL developer, or any application, or you can just say any application. They have to have a valid username and password, and they should have a valid TNS connection, and then they will connect. As a DBA, this is for the end user. And as a DBA, we don't need to have these all JDBC, ODBC, and all of them. I can have SQL Plus is one of the utility. Default comes with your database installation or your Oracle home installation. One of the utility that is. I'm going to use SQL Plus. I'm going to use sys followed by password @devdb @testdb. Even I as a DBA, for the end user, it makes sense. You have to connect with their username and password and which database they want to connect with via whatever the application they want, JDBC, ODBC. For them, it makes sense. For as a DBA, even we want to connect, we have to use that username, password, and which database we want to connect. Using this SQL Plus as a utility, that's the default comes with your Oracle software. But what we do, we never connect like this. We simply use SQL Plus class as sysdba. So we are going to give as a sysdba here. We no need to give this username and password and which database we want to connect. We just going to use SQL Plus as sysdba. Right? Let's say here if I do DNS ping devdb, okay, it works. Now if I do SQL Plus sys user sys password @devdb as sysdba. So this is the actually ideal way. I'm going to use SQL Plus as a utility. I'm going to use the username and password, and I'm going to connect to this devdb as a DBA. So I'm able to connect. So instead of this one, as a DBA, what we do, we can simply SQL Plus, we'll just say slash, and we'll just say as is DBA. So I'm able to connect. So both will work. So this is called password file based authentication. And this is called OS authentication. So again, we cover what is this password file in our regular classes. To basically store your sys password, we use this password file. And then here it's a OS based authentication. OS based authentication meaning what I'm telling, this is my devdb database is created or installed by this Oracle user. Right now on this Oracle Lab 1, I logged in as a Oracle user. I am the owner. I only created this database. I don't need anyone permission to connect to this database. Meaning I'm the owner of my house. I don't need anyone permission. I don't need to show my identity to enter into my house. So I can simply use SQL Plus slash without any username and password. I can directly connect to database. Show user, that's the sys user. So instead of that, if I connect with the password based authentication, so sys and the password, and I'm connecting to this devdb and then show user, and I'm connected to the same. So that's the meaning of that. So we'll talk more on that password file-based authentication, OS authentication in our further classes. But in nutshell, what I wanted to convey here, nobody has access or nobody can connect to database directly. Only way to connect to database is you need to connect to instance first. So to connect to instance, as the end user, he will be giving that username and password. Along with that, which database you want to connect, the TNS name you can give. And as a DBA, I can connect via password authentication or without password authentication using this OS authentication, any one of that. So in order to do that, first you need to set the environmental variable. Like same process again. You have to run this ps-ef grep smon, which gonna tell you who is the owner for that particular database. And again, you need to log into that respective user, SC Oracle. Right now, I already logged in with Oracle user. After running this one, you need to run this .orinv. And now I want to connect to this a DevDB database instance. And after that, you have to verify env grep capital ora a DevDB database instance. SID is a SID, system identify number, Oracle base, Oracle home. So you have to run this .orinv and you have to run this, verify this, and then post that you can connect using SQL plus SSDBA. You will be able to connect. If you don't set this environmental variable, you'll not be able to connect. For example, if I exit and if I exit, now I am into root user. With the root user, if I verify who is the owner for my database, it's a DevDB. DevDB is owned by Oracle. Now I am into root user. So if I run this .orinv and set the environmental variable to DevDB, if I try to connect SQL plus as this DBA, which will not allow invalid username and password because you are trying to connect with the root user. Root is not a owner of that DevDB. Who is the owner of the DevDB database? Is the Oracle. So you need to log into that Oracle user, SU Oracle. Once you log into SU Oracle, and if you try to connect SQL plus SSDBA, you can get SQL plus command not found. Why command not found? Because you have not set the environmental variable. If I run this env grep ora, it says nothing is set. But you need to set the environmental variables by running this .orinv. Once you run this .orinv, it's going to tell you which SID instance ID you want to connect. I want to connect to this at DevDB. Once you set this environmental variable, re-verify using env grep ora to make sure that your SID is set, your Oracle base is set, your Oracle home is set. Once everything is set, you can rerun this command SQL plus SCTBA. You should be able to execute SQL plus and you should be able to connect. Right, that is your fundamental understanding why we run this command to set environmental variable to connect to my database as well as set this environmental
One
variable
question, please.
to connect to your ASM.
What is the difference between Oracle base and Oracle?
I mentioned that one, right? We'll be covering as part of our regular class. What is base, what is home, what is SID? Not at this point. All right. So that is our fundamental architecture, what we talked. The instance versus a database. Database is a physical file. Instance is a logical structure. Whatever a memory and background process will together will form my instance. A DevDB has its own DevDB instance. My TestDB has its own TestDB instance. My DevDB has its own data files. That's a database. My TestDB has its own data files. That's a TestDB database. Again, if you go further deep inside, in the memory architecture itself, memory itself made up of HGA plus PGA, shared global area and program global area, or you can call it as a system global area or private global area. You can say either program global area or private global area. You can call it as a shared global area or system global area. Both are referring to the same. And inside SGA, again, so many sub-memory component. You have a shared pool, large pool, Java pool, stream pool, database buffer cache, log buffer cache. And again, inside shared pool, you have a library cache, data dictionary cache. And coming to PGA, inside PGA, again, so many sub-memory component. You have a stack space, bitmap area, bit area, sort area, temp area. Again, all this internal component in memory architecture we cover in our regular classes once we begin with our actual course. But at this point, if I start explaining all of them, it will be too much without a fundamental. And in the background processes, there's a mandatory a BG process plus non-mandatory BG process. In mandatory background process, you can see SMON, PMON, TBWriter, LogWriter, checkpointer, 5 mandatory background process. What is SMON? What's the task? What purpose SMON is? What is PMON? What's the purpose and what task PMON will perform? What is DBWriter and what is LogWriter? What purpose, what task will gonna perform? What is checkpointer? What's the purpose? What activity it gonna perform? All will be covered again in our regular classes. All these background process and their task and why we need. And non-mandatory background process, again, there will be a lot of things. Let's say you have archiver, you have recoverer, you have a job queue monitor, and so many things, MON, MNLL. So all these are non-mandatory background process. All these background process plus this memory structure together will form you a logical structure called instance. Any users, including DBA and end users, want to connect to database, they will connect to instance. Via that instance, they will access the database, all these data files. As a quick demo here, I can show you all these background process related to both DBDB and TestDB. I just do ps-ef, grep your DB name. DB is my DB name or my instance name. Both are same here, DB. So if I do list all the processes, PS is a process list. I want to grep for all the DB related process. There will be a lot of background process here. So in the background process, I talked about a mandatory and non-mandatory. What are the mandatory background process? You have this PMON, mandatory. We have this, if you go down here, you have this LogWriter, you have this DBWriter, you have this checkpointer, you have SMON. SMON, checkpointer, LogWriter, DBWriter, and this PMON. All these 5 background processes are mandatory for your database instance. Remaining all whatever you're seeing here, archiver, job queue, and MNLL, and these are archiver 1, 2, 3, and your job queue processes. These are like your non-mandatory background process. The name itself suggests non-mandatory. Let's say I can go here and this archiver is a non-mandatory background process. I'm going to go ahead and kill this one. Kill -9. I'm going to kill that process. Even if you kill that process, your database is still up and running. Your non-mandatory background process are not mandatory. Even if you kill, that process goes down, your database or instance will automatically start that particular background process. And what is background process which is mandatory? The name suggests it's a mandatory background process. In order to run your instance, in order to your database to function or your database to work fine, this mandatory background process has to be always up and running. If any of this process is killed, your instance will go down. If the instance goes down, nobody can access to those data files or the database. As a quick demo, you can go and then kill one of the mandatory background process. Let's go with this, a PMON. PMON is one of the mandatory background process. This is a process ID. I'm gonna do kill -9. the PMON background process. Now your PMON background process, which is a mandatory for your instance to functioning fine, that mandatory background process got killed due to some OS issue. Once your mandatory background process is down, entire instance will go down. All this background process will go down. Right? If I go and then check my PSFNEF grep DevDB, nothing is running. Why? Because one of the mandatory background process got killed due to some OS issue, and your entire instance went down. Since your entire instance went down, nobody can access to the data files or the database, including DBA and end user. That's where one of the DBA activity is make sure that your database instance is available 24/7. Without database instance, nobody can connect to your database. Nobody can access to your database. Right now I can quickly start my database instance back. SQL plus SSDBA. It says connected to idle instance, meaning instance is not started. This is down, idle. I'm going to do startup. This is the way you can do your database instance startup. The moment you start your database instance, that instance will be tagged to your database. A DevDB instance tagged to your DevDB database. And the moment your instance starts, you want to locate that SGA and PGA. These are your memory component. SGA, PGA will be allocated and your database will be mounted and your database will be opened. So always there will be one instance and one database is mapped. And now the instance is started and it mapped to database. Now you can go ahead and then check your PS-FNF grep at DevDB. You can see all those background processes here. All the background process, all this memory structure combined together, which is going to form you logical structure that's called instance. And via that instance, any end user can connect to database and access the data. So that's a simple understanding. That is going to be one of your common interview questions. Can you brief about database architecture? Or you may expect all those common questions: SMON, PMON, debrighter, logrator, SGA, PGA, and inside SGA so many subcomponent. All will be part of your interview questions. Any interview go through, all these are like mandatory questions you're expected to answer. All right, so I'll take a pause here if anyone has any questions so far. And also I can see some questions in the chat. I can take them.
Hello.
Yeah, Arun, go ahead.
Sir, you have told us about the SGA and PGA, but what about the in-depth knowledge of SGA and PGA?
That's
Actually,
part
the
of our regular
interviewer
course.
asks always in-depth everything
It's a
for.
part of your regular course.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question. So you are showing for the OS authentication, it is or you are Oracle, but without being Oracle, is it possible to have OS authentication?
No. I just explained, given a brief example, right? OS authentication meaning I am the Oracle, I am the owner of my house. Nobody has authority to ask me or stop me. You have to be owner of that. You have to be, then only you can have OS authentication.
Sir, you are writing on the notepad. Will it be available to us for practice? Like if you
Along
are.
with this notepad, whatever this command I ran here will be clubbed together and then will be uploaded along with the recording. If you see, this is yesterday's demonstration. Along with that, whatever the notepad I'm preparing, we'll be
Okay.
uploading it to the
Fine.
Google Drive.
Fine.
Hi, Malik. I
Yeah.
have a question. So here you're showing all the how to connect to the database through the Linux operating system, right?
Right.
In your course, will you be showing the how to connect to the Oracle database through Windows also?
Right here, if you see chapter number 11,
Uh-huh.
a networking where you can see listener, TNS, SQLnet, SQL developer or Toad installation, how to connect your database using SQL developer or Toad.
Okay.
So
Okay.
again, everything will be there. Like, not only this much, there will be a lot more to cover in our regular course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Malik, I also want to one more thing. Oracle can be run on Windows as well as on Linux. Your course is covering more on Linux.
It's only based upon
Focusing
Linux.
on yes.
There won't be any. I'm not covering Oracle on Windows, Oracle on AX, Oracle on HP, Oracle on SUSE, Oracle on so many things.
Yeah,
So
I know. These are the command lines operating systems. I know, and the window is separated from these. But I want to that if we, I mean, on the enterprise environment, is the Windows is much more going on, or the command line OS?
only Windows also you can do command line. It's nothing like that. So
Okay.
your most of the customers workload are based upon a Linux operating system. It may be X or it may be RHEL, Oracle
Okay.
Linux. Windows very less.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so far so good. Any questions on architecture part, standalone versus rack, or type of databases? All right. Now let's talk about outside of Oracle. Let's talk about other databases versus Oracle. Let's say SAP HANA, IBM DB2, MS SQL, or MySQL, or MongoDB, or PostgreSQL, or anything. Let's take any other database in the world. How other database versus Oracle? Oracle is totally different. Let's take any of these databases here. They will follow the architecture instance, or let's say a single instance. Inside that, multiple databases. Let's say example instance 1. Inside that instance, they can run DevDB, they can run TestDB, they can run UATDB, they can run ProdDB. So any word, any other database you can take it. There will be one master instance will be running. Inside that there will be hundreds of database you can run it. So just maintain one instance. That's more than enough. All other database will be maintained. You no need to spend more time on maintaining each database. You just maintain or manage at your instance level. But whereas when it comes to Oracle, single instance, single database. Let's say you have your instance 1 mapped to DevDB. And similarly, you have to do instance 2, you have to create separate instances for each databases. Dev, TestDB, UATDB, and ProdDB. That's how the Oracle architecture is different than the other databases. Other databases just one single instance. Under that you can run multiple databases. But whereas Oracle, when it comes to Oracle, it will be always one-to-one, one instance mapped to one database. And then Oracle decided, okay, so this is something where in order to maintain these 4 databases, we need to run 4 instances, and we need to maintain this all 4 instances and 4 databases separately. Can we have separate something like other database architecture with one single instance? If I maintain and manage one instance, underlying all the database has to be maintained and managed. That's where Oracle had decided to change the architecture, and they came up with this chapter number 10 here, multi-tenant architecture. So that is nothing but to align with other outside databases, like one single instance, and maintain multiple databases. What Oracle has done, they followed their own architecture, like a single instance and single databases. That is, they call it as a CDB, container database. Inside that, they made virtual databases called PDBs. That is a pluggable databases. Let's say Oracle will allow you to create instance one. That instance one is mapped to one database, let's CDB database. Inside that CDB, you can run DevDB, you can run TestDB, you can run UATDB, you can run ProdDB. So this is called your multi-tenant architecture. Right? Multi-tenant architecture is nothing but Oracle has followed their own architecture, like single instance mapped to single database. On top of that, Oracle allowed you to create some kind of a virtual database. They'll act as a real database, but those are not actual physical, like you are going to see that real databases, which will be part of inside your single database here. Once you maintain your CDB, manage your CDB, that's more than enough. All your virtual database will be automatically managed. You can assign memory at CDB, SGA, PGA. You can maintain all the background process at your CDB level, and all your virtual database will be managed. You don't need to separately maintain a memory, a background process, everything on the PDB level. Everything you can maintain at your CDB level, underlying all databases are managed. This is just to inline with all other databases in the other database skill sets. It may be anything: SAP, DB2, MySQL, MS SQL, MongoDB, PostgreSQL. All of them will maintain this single instance versus multiple databases. So that is not there in Oracle. It's always one instance and one database. So for till 11G, it's one instance and one database. And in this 12C, Oracle came up with this multi-tenant architecture where even though it's a single instance and single database, and inside that you can run multiple pluggable databases. Hope that clears, that makes sense why Oracle came up with this multi-tenant architecture. All right. What else? So this came in 12C. So again, other things what I covered about this multi-tenant architecture up to 7i, your 8i, 9i, 10G. These are like Oracle versions. 11G, it's a normal database architecture. In 12C, this multi-tenant architecture introduced. So in 12C, 18C, and 19C, you're going to support both normal database architecture and multi-tenant architecture. So these three versions will support both, where you can create a single database versus single instance, or you can create single database versus a single instance versus single database plus virtual databases. So this is your multi-tenant architecture, and this is your normal database architecture. So on these three specific version, 12C, 18C, 19C, Oracle has given option to end user to create your database according to your interest. Whether you want a single instance, single database, or whether you want single instance, single database with multiple pluggable databases. Both architecture are supported. Whereas starting with the 21C onwards, let's go with the 23C or 23AI, will be always a multi-tenant architecture. No more normal database architecture. Oracle has completely stopped that normal database architecture concept. Any instance or database you can create, it will be a multi-tenant architecture with one or more PDBs inside that. Again, there will be a lot more to cover on this multi-tenant architecture. In our regular classes, we'll talk about that, the CDB, PDB, and cloning, connectivity, and what's the purpose or what's the advantage of this multi-tenant architecture. Your licensing is one thing, your maintenance, downtime, cloning, unplug and plug, lot many features. We'll talk more in our regular classes. But that's a underlying concept, how this multi-tenant architecture is evolved and how this Oracle is different than the other databases. All right. So then a few more a concept what I wanted to cover is, okay, let's say two things. Let's quickly check about a memory we talked about, right? Let's talk about two more concept on this memory. A memory we talked about SGA and we talked about PGA. For any instance, a memory is mandatory, memory and background process, SGA and PGA. So when you connect to database, let's connect to one of the database, a DevDB or TestDB. I'm gonna quickly check what is my SGA. Show parameter SGA underscore target. So this is one of the memory SGA, which is of 3 GB. And then show parameter, let's say PGA underscore aggregate underscore target. This is one of the common questions from most of the DBAs. How, on what basis these SGA and PGAs are defined? So this is the default. When you create a database, your SGA and PGA will be default assigned. So let's say I have this lab 1 which has a 10 GB RAM plus 100 GB hard disk. How many databases I can create on lab 1? So I can say answer is no limit. As long as we have enough resource on lab 1, we can create many databases. Let's take this example. I have 10 GB RAM for just a DevDB installation, which has consumed a 3 GB plus 1 GB, 4 GB RAM. And we already saw that the storage, where are those data files? Right here. So all these data files together, it has taken 3 GB storage to keep these data files plus 3.1 GB storage. So this particular lab 1 has 10 GB RAM, 100 GB hard disk. How many database I can create? One single dummy database has taken 4 GB RAM and 3 GB hard disk. I can create one more database, TestDB, on the same server. That's also gonna consume 4 GB RAM and 3 GB or 4 GB storage. And now after these two databases, if I try to create one more database, UAT database, and that's where it's gonna fail. We don't have enough resource on that particular server. So from the Oracle side, there won't be any limit. How many database I can create? There won't be any limit. As long as your server has enough resource and RAM, you can keep creating databases. But I'm talking about only the dummy database, which will default take 4 GB RAM and 3 GB storage. But let's think of if you're running in a real enterprise business, is that 4 GB enough to handle 100 users? Right. As of now, let's say 100 users, it's going to be able to manage with this 3 GB. As and when your business grows, is 4 GB is enough? No. You need more and more memory. So that's where you can get into increasing your memory. That is one of your performance troubleshooting. And your database was working fine last year, and this year it is not working fine because your user base got increased and a lot of users are started connecting. Earlier it used to connect only 100 users. Now I can see continuously 150, 200 users. So then you need to obviously increase your memory. You have to increase your SGA and PGA. You have to make it to double since your users got doubled. So that's your continuous monitor. Like you as a DBA, you need to make sure that continuously monitor your database growth, continuously monitor your user connectivity, how many users are able to connect, and at any given point of time, what's the maximum user connected to my database. You have to keep a track of all of them, and as and when you face any issue, then you start tuning those particular memory structure, storage structure, all of them. But in a thumb rule, in nutshell, this memory definition for the dummy database, a 4 GB is the standard default template it will take. But is that enough? No. When it comes to real-time production environment, no. You have to work with your application team and understand how many users are supposed to connect to your database and what kind of a activity, what kind of a SQL queries they're running it. Based upon that, you have to calculate. It's a part of your architect, a DB architect who is senior most in your team, who will be coordinating with your application team and understand the application behavior, and he is going to one calculate for the brand new application deployment. He will decide it, okay, 1000 users will be connecting. For the 1000 users, 6 to 8 GB memory what we need, and any user connected, the longest query what they run, which is going to run for 2 hours, which need a 4 GB of RAM. So 8 GB for connecting 1000 users, for support of the longest query, which is a 4 GB. 8 GB plus 4 GB, 12 GB is my SGA, maximum SGA what we need. So that's a part of your architect who is going to deal with the application team and other vendors, and then he will design at the initial phase how much memory and how much CPU and how much RAM and how much storage is needed. And now, like your database is currently of 1 TB, and last 10 years, every year my database is grown up by 200 GB each. Then your architect will decide, okay, your database is of 1 TB as of now. Every year it is growth by 200 GB. Then he's gonna forecast for next 5 years. I need minimum 1 TB. So we will make sure that that particular lab one has enough RAM and has enough hard disk to sustain my database for next 1 or 2 years. That's the role of your architect who is going to decide all of them in closely working with your application team. So there's nothing straightforward rule. I'm creating my database. I need to assign only this much of memory. I need to assign this much of storage. No, no straightforward answer. It's all based upon how many users are connecting, what kind of queries there or transaction they're doing it, and what is your database growth. Based upon that, you have to calculate and you have to define it. So once you define all these SGA, storage, and memory, that's not enough. Then the DBA regular monitoring activity will come. So we need to, as a DBA role, we need to keep on monitoring my all the user connection, user transactions, and user sessions. And regularly, we need to keep increasing this SGA and PGA as and when needed, right? Based upon the number of user growth, number of data, your database growth, you need to keep on tuning. Those are your tuning parameters. Hope that makes sense how the database architect will decide all of this SGA and PGA, and as a DBA, how we will keep monitoring my database growth, user connections, and then as and when needed, we're going to start tuning these SGAs and PGAs.
I have one query, Malik. Shall I ask?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So as a SDA, I have 2 GB in my database level, which is configured. And I'm trying to retrieve a query which has almost 5 GB. That SQL query which need the 5 GB. So how
Right.
this Oracle will handle it?
Again, this is kind of a the bulk read. So based upon your inside SGA, you have something called your database buffer cache and you have something called a large pool. So once you do this bulk query read, so Oracle will send the data in terms of a bulk. Like, if your SGA is 2 GB, you are running 5 GB, you're reading 5 GB data, Oracle will send 100 MB data and then it will be directly sent to that end user. So direct path read, directly going to make use of your large pool and then send it to your end user. So you cannot fit entire 5 GB into your SGA. So Oracle will send in terms of chunk of data in a bulk by bulk.
Okay.
All right. So with that, if I start continue, it will be too much. I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna pause here. And if anyone has any questions or queries, I'm happy to spend few more minutes to take those questions. If not, let's wrap it up for today. And then we'll continue in our regular classes starting from Monday. Hope makes sense. Any questions, queries so far on the course curriculum, duration, timings, or the course structure, right? Or any concept so far what we discussed on the architecture. Again, networking and Linux not covered much, but we'll take it in our regular classes. All right. So if no questions,
Hi, Malik. Hi.
yep.
Malik, here the question is, after completing this course, what size of database we can handle? If in the interview the question may be gonna
Right.
be asked on the database size.
Right. Okay. A good question on this aspect here, since we're talking about the sizing and all. So do you really think database size matters for the DBS? So if you talk about your database admin activities, your database size doesn't matter. Whatever you're going to monitor, whatever you're going to maintain, it remains same irrespective of your database size. Right? Let's go back here. Let's take here. What are the major activities you can perform? You're going to perform your patching. Is patching is going to be differ based upon your database size? Answer is no. You're going to do this database upgrade. Is your database upgrade is going to differ based upon database size? No.
No.
You're going to set up your data guard. Is your data guard setup configuration going to change based upon database size? No. So what is going to change is your backup and restore and recovery. As and when your database size grows, your backup time will increase and your restore time is going to increase. So how to handle those kind of scenarios? There are a lot of tuning parameters in backup. You can allocate channels. You can increase your large pool. You can check your IO activities. And you can tune those kind of a certain parameters or certain areas like database size directly impact your backup and recovery. And your database size directly impact your archive log generation. And based upon your database is OLTP or OLAP and what kind of a queries they're running it, which is going to impact the large archive log generation. Then you need to tune certain parameter like what is your FRA set, what is your archive log set, and what is your archive log generation. Is it a too many archive log generation? How can I tune that archive log generation? Can I increase my redo log size or can I increase my number of redo logs? Those are your other tuning parameter will come into picture. But in nutshell, your database size is nothing to do with your DBA role or DBA activities. Your DBA activities are remain same. Whatever you're going to do for smaller database, you're going to do the same DBA activities for the larger database. But since your database is being huge, large, there are some activities or some tuning parameter will come into picture, especially for the backup and restore tuning, and especially for your archive log generation. How can you control? How you can tune that? So those are all certain areas you need to take care of that. Otherwise, your day-to-day activities or DB activities are remain same. So the whatever the user you're going to create for 1 GB database versus 1 TB database remain same. Whatever your listeners and TNS you're going to create it for a small database going to be remain same for your 100 TB database. No change at all. Right? So that's where your answer is. But yeah, this is one of the common questions in most of the interview. What's the largest database you handled? 1 TB, 10 TB, 50 TB, 100 TB, and what are the consideration you can make it? Right? Yeah, those are the questions you can expect it. Again, it's all based upon whether you get a chance to work on those kind of environment or not. Especially for me,
Malik, I did not. Hello.
So, with an experience of 3 to 4.
there'll be a lot of Amrin, lot of
Hi, Malik. Hello.
give me a second. Amrin, I think you have some network issue or mic issue. Just
Sorry, I was in.
you can post your questions. There'll be a lot of disturbance. I can take those questions. Yeah, Arun,
Many
go ahead.
many people have sent you the questions on the chat. Please answer those. I have the question that I don't have any environment right now because I am currently working in a different domain. Then how can I tell this kind of environment that I have regarding the Oracle DBA interview?
Again, like there's no way if you are not worked on the larger environment, you don't know what are the challenges you can commit. It's all based upon your real-time exposure. So there's no straightforward answer that I worked on 100 TB, and once you work, then only you will get to know what are the challenges or what are the tuning
Okay,
parameters. Without
okay.
that, you cannot.
But at the very first interview, how can handle with this situation? I mean, how can handle this situation?
Again, it depends how many years of experience you are attaining. Like, if you are attaining for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years of experience, these are not the expected question that for 1 year DBA, they cannot ask what's the largest database size you handled and all. So this is the basic foundation. Once you are
O-
more experienced senior DBA, then the questions are your complexity will become more.
Okay. Suppose we are showing the 4 years, 4.5 years experience, then
Yeah,
we can,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, once you are 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, then it's expected to get all these kind of questions. What's the largest database size? What are the
okay,
tuning parameters? And what are the major challenges you faced it?
okay. Can we discuss in future also this kind of thing, like how to handle the interview and the questions asked in the interviews?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
do that. Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. So when you say 1 PB, so that includes database, the data size, and also the review log size and archive log size, huh?
Your That's only data files. Your database size
Oh, only
is
here.
your data files. Your read logs is
Yeah.
not a database. Your archive logs are not a database.
Thank you.
All right. So few questions here. This core DBA contain apps DBA. No, app DBA is again separate codes. We have a EBS app DBA, your OBI app DBA, PeopleSoft app DBA. So those are separate codes. Will not be covered here. How to install mobile XTerm and Oracle 19th version. Yeah, this is part of our course. So as part of this course, we'll be covering end to end on the installation part. Like, you're going to install your ISOs, patches, your VMware workstation, Oracle workstation, how you can use your WinSCP, PuTTY, mobile XTerm, how you can access those VMs through your mobile XTerm and PuTTY sessions will be covered here. That's a fundamental thing. Without connecting to mobile XTerm, PuTTY sessions, this VMware workstation, running this VM, you cannot practice. Will be covered very first week of this course. That setup and all. And there are few more questions. What is VMware VirtualBox? So your VMware is equal to VirtualBox. VirtualBox is a free software. Freely we can install it and configure your VMs, same as your VirtualBox and VMware. Both are called hypervisors. Hypervisors is nothing but with help of this VMware on mobile term, those are hypervisors. Using those software, you can divide your laptop or desktop resource, like your laptop has 30 GB RAM, 200 GB hard disk. Take 50 GB hard disk. Out of the 30 GB, take 10 GB of RAM and create one VM. And take another 50 GB hard disk from your laptop. Take another 10 GB RAM and create one more VM. So those are called your VMware and Oracle VirtualBox are called hypervisors. So those will divide your physical resources of your laptop or desktop and allow you to create the VirtualBox for VMs.
Sir, what is the Oracle DBA
How
role,
about the
sir?
networking? On the networking also, NIC cards also, can you do virtualization? That means, can you have,
No,
more
no,
NICs than actually the physical?
no.
No, I see.
Sir,
Right?
what is the Oracle DBA role, sir?
Oracle DBA role.
Yes, sir.
So, and what respect you're asking? You want to understand the DBA role, or is it one of interview questions?
No, sir. That means what we will do if we learn this Oracle DBA course.
Right, that is your fundamental understanding. So, as I mentioned in our yesterday's class, so which domain you want to enroll or which domain you want to pursue, like it's especially for the college passed out or especially for the non-IT background. So what is the best route or best career path we want to choose? Like, if you are interested in coding, I'm very good in logical reasoning, logical thinking. I'm good at C, C++, Java. I learned some programming skills. Then you can pursue your career into like coding.
Okay,
You
sir.
can be a PLSQL developer. You can be a Python developer, or you can be a Java developer. Or you can be a .NET developer. That's all requires your coding and logical thinking and reasoning, where you can build the application. You will be a developer. And this DBA is a backend support. Backend support meaning where you will be supporting all the database, end to end. Let's say in this slide here, right? If you think of this slide, a DBA comes here.
Okay, sir.
DBA will be supporting and maintaining this end data and database instances. And then somebody asked about app DBA. App DBA will come into picture here. So those are the DBAs which will be supporting these applications, EBS, OBI, PeopleSoft. Plus, they will be supporting these databases. They will be having a dual role, application side plus database side. Both they will be supporting app DBA. And that's where app DBA is more pay scale than the DBA role. So DBA roles will be like comparatively less pay scale than the app DBA, because app DBAs are going to be like both in application side as well as in the database side. So example for app DBA is EBS app DBA, OBI app DBA, PeopleSoft app DBA. Then finally, this is your developers. Developers meaning your application is based upon Java, your application based upon .NET, your application based upon whatever the framework they're using it. This way the coding. The developers will come into picture here, this top layer. They are gonna one who is gonna build this, the front end, the designing, and once they build that code, app DBAs are the one who will gonna deploy it and configure that application along with the application team or developers. And at the back end, what the DBAs, what we come, where we maintain the servers, where we maintain the database, where we maintain that instance. The Linux server, the database instance, and database are the one what we DBA do day-to-day activities. So if I don't make sure that my instance is available, my server is available, my database is available, none of the users are able to connect or access my database. So our DBA job is to make sure that my database instance and servers are available 24/7 for the end users or for the application users. That's where the DBS comes here.
Okay, sir. Sir, we don't have the classes from Monday to Friday, sir.
No, we have only 3 days.
Only 3 days.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So any more questions, guys? Before I think few more questions here. Completely FDBA profile with respect to core DBA. Right. Again, as I said, if you are a DBA, you can get into FDBA very easily. Right. And then if you are a app DBA and if you don't know the knowledge of core DBA, then it's better you have to learn the core DBA skills. So app DBA meaning you should have both application side and database side so that your profile will be very, very strong or good in market, especially for EBS DBAs, EBS app DBAs. And then
What is EBS? EBS is ERP.
ERPS. EBS stands for Enterprise Business. Again, Oracle software. So I'm planning to take RAC course. Can I take parallelly DBA and RAC course? Again, it is subjected to how good at your DBA. You are already DBA, working as a DBA, you know fundamentals. Then you can plan for both RAC and DBA. Parallelly, it works for you. But if you are a new, then first go for database and then go for RAC.
So, Malik, how often do you take these kind of sessions? Like, now you're taking DBA. When will be the next DBA session?
Yeah, it's going to
One
run for 45, 2 months, almost 2 months. Each course will
every
run
two
for 2
months.
months. Yeah.
So now the rack session you may be taking now immediately. Then after 2 months again, will you take a rack session?
RAC
So
will be
that
starting next month.
next month, that's correct.
Yeah.
But
Again, that also run for 2 months.
that's another next 2 months. So
Yeah.
that will give us ample time for us to get the basics of regular DBA. Then
Right.
probably we can. Okay.
That's
Got
correct.
it.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right. With that, let's wrap it up, guys. If no questions.
Sir, one more question here. Is recording sessions are enough to have this hands-on practice if I want to attend the interview bit early?
Again,
Then
see,
waiting.
my suggestion is to always do a hands-on experience so that even in difficult situation in the interview, if they confuse you, they will ask the question in a reverse manner. So once you do a hands-on experience, then only you will be able to answer that questions confidently. If you don't do hands-on experience, then you may struggle to answer or crack those but kind of complex questions. But with this course, you should be able to crack the interview. There will be a lot of questions and answers available on the Google Drive. You can just refer them.
Okay, okay.
And also, we'll be conducting the
Great.
mock interview, right?
Mm-hmm. So, how many recording sessions are there? Number of sessions in the recording?
Entire
Google
course.
Drive.
Not number of sessions, it will be entire course.
But you said 45 classes. There will be 45 classes or 30 classes?
30 classes.
30.
But again, if we count these classes like in a week, we have 3 days, and somebody was saying that the course is for 30 days. So in this way, we have only 12 classes, I think.
No, 30 days your live classes.
And rest of the 15 classes are like.
It's a weekends.
If we need, can we take? Hello, Mallika.
Yeah, go
Hello.
ahead. What is your query?
Yes, if we want to extend the classes, if we have the problems, if we have the some
Those are
confusion,
not
can we?
considered. Those will be
Oh,
extra sessions will be conducted as and when we record. Like, let's say
okay,
3-4
okay.
persons are not able to set up a lab.
So
I'll be
means
conducting some
exact
extra
course
sessions.
will be of 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it is 30 days, it will span like 2.5 months, right?
Or maybe 2 months you can complete
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All right, guys. Let's take a break. We'll continue on our regular classes starting from Monday. If any further questions, again, feel free to ping me on my cell number or WhatsApp number. I can connect with you one-to-one and we can discuss more.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.